Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2014 action thriller named The November Man. Please be advised that there might be spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, David Mason is flirting with a girl he got attracted to. Shortly, his mentor Peter Devereaux walks to him and warns him about relationships. He reveals that the girl can be used as leverage in case they need information from him. He shows him someone with a camera, which worries David, but Peter tells him to get a dog in case he wants love. Peter and David are CIA agents who are now heading on a mission to protect an ambassador. When Peter picks him, they exchange their suits. On the other hand, David sets his sniper rifle in one of the buildings to cover the perimeters. He describes the potential targets as well as the appearance of the possible shooter. David, however, wants them to abort the operation since they don't have enough enforcement. Peter, however, moves out posed as the ambassador, and one man from the crowd stands up. Peter tells David not to shoot after seeing a young boy running. The man shoots Peter several times, but David shoots him as well. Peter gets saved by his body armor, but the boy gets killed in the process, which makes Peter sad. 5 years later, now in Lausanne, Switzerland, Peter is a retired CIA. He gets called that someone wants to talk to him. It turns out to be John Hanley, an old handler of Peter when he was still in the CIA. He shows him the photos of dead agents who once worked with Peter. He reveals that they had identified the assassin to be a Russian named Alexei, contracted by a presidential candidate named Arkady Fedorov. Fedorov wants to erase everyone who knows of his past crimes. When Peter thinks it has nothing to do with him, Hanley shows him another file of someone Peter had a past affair with, Natalie Ulanova. Natalie is now an undercover agent who is so close to Fedorov and has information that can bury Fedorov for good. She also has a name that can tie Fedorov to his war crimes in Chechnya. Hanley wants Peter to extract Natalie, stating that she requested for only Peter so that she can give the CIA the information she has. At the Russian parliament in Moscow, Fedorov is going for a press conference, and Natalie is his right hand. When Fedorov starts his speech, Natalie moves to his office and opens his vault. She gets out photos of the same girl and photographs them. After the speech, Fedorov is now returning to his office. Natalie puts everything back hurriedly, and by the time Fedorov enters, she looks clean and moves out. While downstairs, Fedorov recognizes the key Natalie forgot in the safe. He opens the vault and realizes that someone broke in. Natalie gets into her car to head to the extraction point as the CIA then follow her. At the United States Embassy in Belgrade, Serbia, Hanley and other CIA operatives are tracking Natalie after setting the extraction in about 5 minutes. David is with the CIA extraction team. Hanley gets a video conference call from Perry Weinstein, who reveals that many organizations need the information Natalie has. Shortly, Natalie gets chased by FSB, a Russian intelligence agency, after her cover gets blown. She runs out of the car, but shortly Peter arrives to her rescue and calls her inside his car. He drives away, but it turns out that she wasn't expecting him. Shockingly, the CIA is also not aware who picked up Natalie, since Hanley never told them that he had invited Peter. Natalie asks Peter about their daughter Lucy. Weinstein orders the CIA to execute Natalie, believing the information she has might land in the wrong hands. Peter asks Natalie the name of the person with Fedorov's secrets, and she informs him that she's called Mila Filipova, and Peter gives the name to Hanley. David moves to the top of the building and shoots Natalie, causing an accident. Before she dies, Natalie gives him a phone. Furious, Peter moves out angrily to avenge her death. As the CIA team is leaving the place, they get attacked by Peter, who shoots the driver and the other 2 agents, but David survives. Shortly, they both draw guns at each other surprisingly, but move away without saying a thing, and David explodes the van. Peter grabs a taxi and starts to check the photos on the phone Natalie gave him. He then removes the memory card and throws the phone. While Hanley is at his home searching for Mila, the name Peter gave him, the CIA strike team breaks into his house. He shoots the computer to prevent them from accessing the information. Back at his apartment, David notices the neighbor's cat and inside his house and takes it back. While she invites him in, a private call gets him taken. At the refugee center in Belgrade, a woman named Alice Fournier gets approached by a New York Times reporter named Edgar Simpson for information on Fedorov. Edgar wants to expose Fedorov, but Alice warns him that it could be dangerous, and she would like to be involved in politics. At Belgrade International Airport, Alexa has arrived and checks in at a hotel where she sets her weapons. On the other hand, David is being interrogated by Weinstein why he didn't shoot Peter after he killed other agents, but David reveals that he was disoriented. Weinstein wonders why Peter didn't shoot David either. The two get into a private talk where he shows him files of Peter's past relationships. He reveals that Natalie was close to Peter, and he will avenge her death. Weinstein says that the order is to execute Peter, and David confirms he has no problem doing it. Peter is now at Hanley's apartment, where he finds two CIA agents trying to recover the drive and hits them both. Alexa has arrived at a web cafe where she meets a hacker who gives her information on Mila and informs her that Alice has something to do with Mila, hence getting Alice's address. David and the CIA are tracking Peter, who is now in Hanley's apartment checking on Alice. He poses as the CIA tech team using their phone and asks for information on Alice's phone number and the address. David senses something and asks Celia to call the other techs since they were two, and when Peter doesn't pick it up, David deduces that Peter has a lead. Peter reaches Alice's workplace, but Alexa has disguised herself as a waitress to call Alice. Peter calls her and warns her that Alexa is an assassin. When Alexa reaches for a knife, Peter tells her to run, but shortly the CIA burst in, led by David, and a chase begins. Peter holds Alice, and they run through the kitchen. David and his team receive a call from Peter who they are looking for. David gets a phone scanner to track Peter, but Peter mocks him that the 6 agents won't catch him. Alice wants to know what's going on, but Peter tells her to trust him if she needs safety. She pretends to be alone, and when one agent chases her, Peter hits him, messes with his phone, and leaves. The CIA meets the injured agent, and David receives Peter's call again. While they are tracking it, they discover that the call was interrupted, leading to their agent's phone. With the hunt ongoing, Peter manages to haunt David psychologically while they discuss their pasts. Peter and Alice run to a parking lot where Peter kicks in a car window, sets an alarm off, and pulls the fuel line. When David and his team get there, they see the car, and David senses a trap. Sure enough, Peter hot-wired another car and is already leaving with Alice. When David arrives, Peter shoots at the spilled fuel, causing the other car to explode and allowing them to escape. When Edgar leaves the restaurant, Alexa follows him without his consent. Peter asks Alice the location of Mila Filipova, but she says she doesn't know where she is. He tells her that everyone looking for Mila will turn to get Alice if they fail to get Mila. They board a train, and she tells him that she has a file on Mila Filipova, and they proceed to look into the file. He asks her again where he can get her, but she denies knowing there. He sees a photo of someone Alice knows as Lebedinko, a renowned pimp, but Peter tells him that his real name is Simeony Denisov and was Fedorov's man in the Chechnya War. They meet him at his strip, and Peter tells him that Fedorov is cleaning everyone who knows about his past war crimes. He inquires why Fedorov is killing the people and what he did. Denisov tells him that Chechnya has oil which Russia is interested in. Also, before the last Second Chechnya War, a building exploded with Russian soldiers inside, which sparked off the war. Secretly, it was a plan by Fedorov and the CIA, which leaves Peter stunned. At the CIA black site, Celia tries to interrogate Hanley about his relationship with Peter, but Hanley seems rude to her. At the office, Weinstein gives David a flash on what Peter thinks of him. Back home, David checks the flash and notices photos of Peter and Natalie, yet he told him not to have attachments with women. Peter had made a report that David was reckless and didn't follow orders and should be dropped from being an agent, which makes David seethe in anger. He sees the neighbor's cat and takes it again, and the two introduce themselves, and her name is Sarah. Peter and Alice buy numerous phones and walk outside the street discussing about Mila's safety before Peter breaks into an apartment whose couple have left. He gets alcohol from the cabinet for a drink and moves towards the window to track the apartment across. He sees Sarah and David leave with a taxi. David and Sarah are now in a club because David decided to live life more than his job. While playing a piano, Alice accidentally slips a Russian word which shocks Peter. She informs him that her parents were university professors who taught her Russian. David and Sarah are back and seem to have become so close. They have a great time inside David's apartment. Peter dresses up and tells Alice that she can't move with him anymore. He gives her cash and a phone to hide somewhere safe. When David wakes up, he finds Sarah missing but shortly gets a text from her phone. He goes to check his guns, which are also missing. Upon moving to the kitchen, he finds Peter holding a gun to Sarah's head. David tries to calm her, but Peter messes with her head. he tells her that David is running through his head about whether she is worth saving. Peter forces her to ask David if she is worth saving, and when David hesitates, Peter says that it proves his point. David then yells that yes, she is worth saving. Peter tells him that it is time for his last lesson about not caring for the people he kills while on duty. David, however, tells him he had no choice but to kill Natalie while in Moscow. Holding a knife to Sarah's throat and leaving his gun, David grabs for the gun and tells him to let Sarah go. Peter decides to make one final test of David's true character and envisions it. David screams at him not to do it, but Peter cuts Sarah's femoral artery on her right leg and leaves. David chooses to save her and begins to put pressure on the wound, and when the ambulance gets called, she presumably survives. Fedorov has arrived for a conference but meets with Alexa first for some directives. When Edgar returns home, he bumps into Alice, who now wants to tell him everything she knows about Fedorov. She tells him about Mila, but when he goes to get a recorder, Alexa steps out of her hiding and stabs. Alexa tries to finish Alice as well, but Edgar holds her, giving Alice a chance to run outside. David takes a second look at Peter's photos and realizes that Peter and Natalie had a daughter which the CIA never knew about. At the CIA black site, Peter arrives and questions Hanley why he called him back, yet Natalie never knew about it. Hanley tells him that Natalie had an eyewitness to the Chechnya War saga where America was involved in bombing the building. He reveals to Peter that it was Weinstein who worked with Fedorov and was also the man who ordered the execution of Natalie. He tells him about Mila Filipova, saying that her parents were professors who taught her Russian, and Peter figures out that Alice is Mila Filipova. David informs Weinstein that Peter has a daughter and shows him the photos of Peter and Lucy. Meanwhile, the CIA starts to do a match on Alice's face. While heading to Belgrade Hotel, Alice receives a call from Peter. He now knows that she is Mila Filipova and warns her not to go after Fedorov. She, however, ignores his advice and proceeds to Fedorov's apartment. She goes to the bathroom where she recalls Fedorov killing her family, though he spared her, thinking she was deaf. On the other hand, the CIA has also realized Alice is Mila. It is revealed that the real Alice died 4 years ago. Mila sets a broken mirror looking like a knife and moves out of the bathroom to Fedorov and gets her weapon to hold it on Fedorov's throat. He recalls her and tells her that if she wanted him dead, she would have done it already. He begins to once again psychologically torture her, causing her to hesitate. He then pins Alice to the bed and turns the fight around. Peter arrives at the hotel and put up a fight against the guards. He then bursts into the room to save Mila and tell her to get a phone so that they record him. Peter wants Fedorov to confess to his crimes and who he worked with from the CIA's side. When he fails to comply, Peter plays with him a Russian roulette game. Fedorov finally admits that it was John Hanley who he conspired with, which shocks Peter since Hanley had lied that it was Weinstein. Peter gets the photo from which Mila recalls and confirms it was Hanley. Upon moving outside, Peter gets into a gun battle with CIA agents. David is also around but fails to get Peter. He gives Mila an access card to flee the building to a safer place and manages to elude the agents. David pursues Peter to the basement where they get engaged in a fight. However, after a while, Peter strangles him unconscious and leaves him with Alice's phone. Later at the station, they see Fedorov's confession and decide to take it to Weinstein, but upon moving to his office, they get surprised when it's Hanley there who orders David to sit down. Peter reunites with Alice at the hotel where he tells her to disappear, seeing that running away is better than dead. The two then discuss about their lives, where Peter reveals to her that he is a retired agent now operating his businesses. He calls his daughter's phone only to find Hanley has picked up and has kidnapped his daughter. Peter tells him that he will kill him if he hurts her, but Hanley reveals that it was David who got them Lucy. Hanley wants to trade Lucy for Mila. Peter tells Mila to move to the station and book 3 tickets for their escape. While she books the tickets, Peter goes to meet Hanley. Hanley explains that by owning Fedorov, they basically own Russia, and when Fedorov becomes president, Hanley would force him to join NATO. After, they would all now be able to attack the Middle East, a common and easy enemy. Mila sits down at a cafe to write an article exposing Fedorov, though Alexa has her location. Peter tells Hanley that Mila is at the station, hence sending David and other agents to get her. David, however, has learnt that Hanley is corrupt, so he jams the seat belt of his man. He then runs into the wall, killing him on the spot, and then proceeds to go for Lucy's rescue. While Mila is still at the cafe, Alexa arrives, and upon seeing her she runs away and Alexa chases her. When she gets out her gun, Mila stops and hit her with a shovel to tremble down the stairs, dropping her gun. When Mila picks it, she realizes Alexa is no longer a threat, hence moving back to finish her ordeal. David returns to Hanley and shoots his men, giving Peter a chance to hold Hanley at gunpoint. He, however, spares him, leaving him with David after thanking him. He meets Lucy and they head to the station. Mila finishes her ordeal and sends it on behalf of Edgar Simpson before joining Peter with Lucy. Later on, Mila is now giving a deposition to government officials about the murder of her family by Fedorov and her knowledge about his conspiracy with CIA agent John Hanley causing the building explosion that started the Second Chechen War. News gets stormed everywhere, ending Fedorov's attempts to become president. In the final scene, after Fedorov denied all the charges, he goes on a yacht with women thinking he got away with everything. He gets shot, bringing the movie to an end. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.